The gunshot echoed off the marble walls of the Hansen estate like a thunderclap in hell, and I dove across the Persian rug, tackling Connor to the floor just as the chandelier above us shattered into a million glittering knives. "You idiot!" he spat through gritted teeth, his breath hot against my neck. "Why the fuck do you always have to play hero?" Blood trickled from a gash on his forehead, mixing with the sweat on his olive skin. And in that split second, with his father's rage still hanging in the air like gunpowder, I realized I'd been shielding this monster from the world, and from himself, for far too long. It started 6 years ago, back when we were both 18 and the summer heat in the Hamptons clung to everything like a bad lie. Connor Hansen, heir to the Hansen media empire, was already a storm wrapped in Armani, tall, broad-shouldered, with that perpetual scowl that could curdle milk and eyes the color of storm clouds over the Atlantic. He was cruel because he had to be. His father, Richard Hansen, built his fortune on burying scandals deeper than the Mariana Trench, and Connor was next in line to wield the shovel. Me? I was Evan Caldwell, the nobody gardener's son from the wrong side of the tracks in Queens, hired on a whim to tend the manicured lawns of their sprawling beach house. One wrong glance, one whispered rumor about the way my gaze lingered on Connor during those endless afternoons by the pool, and I could have been out on my ass. But fate, that twisted bitch, had other plans. I'd seen the bruises first, the faint purple blooms on Connor's ribs when he stripped down for a swim, pretending not to notice me watching from the shadows of the rose arbor. His old man was a ghost in the machine, always traveling, always demanding perfection via encrypted emails that arrived like guillotines at dawn. Connor absorbed it all with a smirk and a middle finger, but at night, when the house slept, he'd slip out to the stables, chain-smoking Marlboros until the pack was empty, his hands shaking like leaves in a gale. That's where I found him that first time, slumped against a stall door, the horse inside nickering softly as if it knew the weight he carried. "You gonna tell?" he snarled when I approached, his voice a low rumble that sent a shiver down my spine, not from fear, but from the raw edge of it, like velvet wrapped around barbed wire. I shook my head, hands shoved deep in my pockets to hide the tremble in my fingers. "Ain't my story to tell, rich boy," he laughed then, a bitter bark that echoed in the dim light, and flicked his cigarette at my boots. It smoldered there, tiny inferno. "Everyone's got a price, Caldwell. What's yours? A bonus check? A ride in the Bentley? Nothing you could afford," I muttered, stomping out the ember. But we both knew that was a lie. From that night on, it became our ritual, me patching him up with stolen first aid kits from the boathouse, him tossing insults like grenades to keep me at arm's length. He called me peasant and pretty boy with equal venom, but his touches lingered a beat too long, his gaze stripping me bare when he thought I wasn't looking. I told myself it was pity, that I was just the help-playing therapist to a spoiled prince. But deep down, in the quiet hours when the ocean whispered secrets to the shore, I knew it was more. It was the way his hand brushed mine when he passed the whiskey flask, the electric hum in the air when our shoulders bumped in the narrow path to the beach. Forbidden fruit in the Garden of Eden, and I was the fool tempted to take a bite. By fall, we were back in the city, Connor ensconced in his penthouse on the Upper East Side, me crashing in a rat-trap walk-up in Astoria, commuting via the 7 train that rattled like my nerves every goddamn morning. He pulled strings, got me a promotion to estate manager, which was code for keep an eye on the heir and make sure he doesn't implode. Richard Hansen didn't give a damn about my qualifications. He just needed someone disposable to clean up Connor's messes. And oh, the messes. Bar fights in Hell's Kitchen where Connor's fists flew like accusations. Nights blurred by coke lines on mirrored coffee tables. Girls paraded through his bedroom like trophies to prove he wasn't what the tabloids whispered. Queer as a $3 bill, they'd hissed once, after a blurry photo surfaced of him dancing too close with some club kid in the village. Connor sued them into oblivion, but the damage festered. I was there for the fallout, always the shadow in the doorway, handing him ice packs and black coffee while he ranted about legacy and fuck your legacy. You're the only one who doesn't look at me like I'm broken glass, he admitted one dawn. Sprawled on his leather couch in nothing but boxers, the city skyline bleeding pink through the floor-to-ceiling windows. His vulnerability hit me like a sucker punch. Rare, jagged, beautiful. I wanted to tell him he wasn't broken, that the cracks made him shine, but instead I just nodded and poured another cup. Words were dangerous, they could shatter everything. Winter brought the first real storm. Christmas Eve, snow blanketing Manhattan like a shroud, and Richard summoned Connor home to the townhouse on Park Avenue for the annual family gala. I tagged along as staff, polishing silver and pretending not to hear the whispers from the caterers about the Hanson boys' peculiar appetites. Connor was a caged tiger that night, pacing in his tuxedo, the silk tie strangling him like a noose. When Richard cornered him in the library, voice booming about mergers and marriages, some debutante from the Vanderbilts as the perfect cover, Connor snapped. I heard the crash from the hallway, the shatter of crystal against oak paneling, and burst in to find father looming over son, fist raised. Get out, Richard barked at me, but Connor's eyes locked on mine, wild and pleading. I stepped between them, heart hammering like a war drum. Mr. Hanson, sir, he's had a long night. Let me get him upstairs. The old man sneered, his face a map of Botox and bitterness. You, the help? Stay in your lane. Boy. But Connor grabbed my arm, his grip iron, and we stumbled out together, up the grand staircase to his old room, the one with the brass bed and the faded baseball posters from a childhood long poisoned. He collapsed against the door, sliding down until he was on his knees, tux rumpled, bow tie undone. Fuck him. Fuck all of it. And then, before I could think, he yanked me down with him, his mouth crashing into mine like a wave breaking on jagged rocks. It was desperate, tasting of bourbon and salt, his hands fisting my shirt as if I'd vanish if he let go. Kissed him back, pouring years of silent longing into it, my fingers threading through his dark curls, pulling him closer until there was no air, no space, just us two lost souls colliding in the eye of the hurricane. That night marked the beginning of our secret. Stolen moments in the back of town cars idling on Fifth Avenue. Hurried trysts in the estate's guest cottage when Richard was away. Connor was fire, intense, consuming, leaving scorch marks on my soul. He'd whisper promises in the dark, his voice husky against my ear. One day, Evan, we'll burn it all down. You and me against the empire. I traced the scars on his back, remnants of a father who taught love through leather belts, and believe him, because in those arms, wrapped in sheets that smelled of his cologne, sandalwood and sin, I felt seen, wanted, alive. But cruelty has a way of seeping back in, like damp rot in an old brownstone. Connor's world was a viper's nest, and I was the mouse he toyed with. Publicly, he was the golden boy, schmoozing investors at galas, flashing that megawatt smile for the cameras. Privately, he'd lash out, calling me needy when I pushed for more, shoving me away after a fight with a curt, "Know your place." It stung, but I swallowed it, told myself it was the pressure, the facade he wore like armor. I protected him from the wolves, hushing up a DUI in the Hamptons, bribing a paparazzo who'd snapped us too close at a rooftop party. For him, I'd walk through fire. For him, I'd lie to the world. Spring thawed the city, but not the chill between us. Richard announced the engagement in May, a merger disguised as matrimony. Connor to Eliza Wentworth, oil heiress with a trust fund bigger than Delaware. The papers ate it up. Hansen Heir ties the knot, while Connor drowned his rage in a bottle of Macallan, smashing the decanter against the wall of his penthouse. I found him there, glass in his hand, eyes bloodshot. "This is it, Evan." The end of the line. I knelt beside him, wiping blood from a cut on his palm. "Then fight it. Tell him no." He laughed, that hollow sound again. "Fight? With what? My charm? My dick?" His gaze darkened, raking over me like a brand. "You're the only real thing I've got. You know that? But this." He gestured vaguely at the glittering skyline beyond. "This is my cage. And you're the fucking key I can't turn." We made love that night on the shattered remnants of his life, slow, ticking, like a confession. His body moved over mine with a tenderness he rarely showed, lips mapping every inch as if committing me to memory. "I love you," he murmured against my throat, the words slipping out like a secret too heavy to hold. I froze, heart seizing, then pulled him closer, whispering it back. "Love." The word hung between us, fragile as spun sugar, and for a moment, I believed we could shatter the chains. But summer brought the betrayal, sharp as a switchblade in the gut. I'd been running errands, picking up dry cleaning, stocking the fridge with his favorite IPAs, when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Check the post. Page 6. My stomach dropped as I unfolded the tabloid on the subway. The headline screaming, "Hansen Heir's dirty secret, Gardner boy toy exposed." There I was, grainy photo from that rooftop party, arms slung around Connor's waist, his head on my shoulder. But worse, the article, penned by some sleaze named Harlan Voss, detailed everything: our nights in the stables, the guest cottage romps, even the bruises I'd hidden from prying eyes. Sources close to the family reveal Connor Hansen's deviant dalliances with lowly Evan Caldwell, threatening the Wentworth merger and the Hansen legacy. Painted me as the gold digger, the predator luring the innocent prince into depravity. Lies, all of it, but the damage was done. I raced to the penthouse, key shaking in the lock, bursting in to find Connor on the phone, face pale as ash. Richard's voice thundered from the speaker. "Fix this, boy, or I'll bury you both." Connor hung up, turning to me with eyes like shattered ice. "Evan, you told him?" The words choked out, betrayal blooming hot in my chest. "All this time, protecting you, and you throw me to the wolves." He flinched, but his jaw set. "It wasn't me. Harlan, he's on payroll, digs for dirt. But Dad, he knew about us. Used it as leverage." "Leverage?" I laughed, bitter and broken. "For what? To keep you in line? And you let him." "I had to." Connor exploded, grabbing my shoulders, his grip bruising. "The empire, the engagement, it's all collapsing. If I don't play ball, we're ruined. You think I want this? Hiding like some fucking coward." I shoved him off, chest heaving. "I've been the coward, Connor. Covering for you, lying for you, loving you while you play prince and pauper. But this, I thrust the paper at him. This ends it. He crumpled it in his fist, eyes flashing. You walk out that door, you're done. No job, no references, nothing. Dad'll make sure of it. The threat hung there, a guillotine blade. I wanted to beg, to pull him into my arms and pretend the world wasn't crumbling. But something snapped, the years of silence, the swallowed hurts, the love I'd poured into a bottomless well. Then let him try, I whispered, voice steady for the first time. I'm done protecting you from yourself. I left him there, the door clicking shut like a coffin lid, the city swallowing me whole as I wandered the streets, rain starting to fall in sheets. My phone blew up, texts from Connor, voicemails laced with panic. Come back. Please. I need you. But I silenced it, checking into a Fleabag motel in Chelsea, staring at the water-stained ceiling until dawn broke, gray and unforgiving. Word spread like wildfire through the gossip mills. By noon, Richard's lawyers were circling, cease and desist, NDAs thicker than my resume. The Wentworths pulled out, the stock dipped, and Connor became tabloid fodder. Disgraced heir's gay affair sinks dynasty? He vanished from public view, holed up in the Hamptons, while I scraped by on odd jobs, bartending at a dive in the East Village, crashing on a buddy's couch. The betrayal festered, but so did the ache, a hollow in my chest that no amount of whiskey could fill. I missed his laugh, the way he'd hum off-key to Springsteen in the shower, the quiet mornings when he'd trace lazy patterns on my skin. Love doesn't die clean, it lingers like smoke. 2 months in, the call came from an old contact at the estate. Richard had a heart episode, rushed to Mount Sinai. Connor was a wreck, refusing visitors, doctors whispering about stress and substance. Against every instinct screaming run, I went. The hospital corridor smelled of bleach and regret. Connor's room a dim cave of beeping monitors and wilted flowers. He looked like hell, gaunt, unshaven, the cruel edge dulled to desperation. Evan, he rasped as I stepped in, voice cracking like dry earth. You came. I crossed my arms, leaning against the wall. Heard you needed a keeper. He winced, sitting up, for line tugging at his arm. Dad's stable, but it's bad. The board's circling, Eliza's gone, and his eyes met mine, raw and stripped. I fucked up. Everything. Yeah, I said softly, the fight draining out. You did. He reached for my hand, and God help me, I let him take it. His fingers were cold, trembling. I never told him about us. Not really. Harlan. He tailed us for weeks. Dad found out from the PI he hired to protect the family. Used it to force the engagement. Said he'd out you if I didn't comply. Ruin your life, your family's. I thought, if I played along, bought time, I could fix it. But I was wrong. I was scared. The confession hung there, heavy as lead. Betrayal, yes, but born of the same poison that twisted him. Fear of the man who'd raised him with fists and ultimatums. I sank into the chair beside the bed, thumb brushing his knuckles. You could have trusted me. We could have faced it together. I know. Tears tracked down his cheeks. Unashamed. I love you, Evan. Always have. But I'm poison. You'll leave, and I'll deserve it. The room blurred, my own eyes stinging. In that sterile space, with the city humming beyond the windows, I saw him, Not the heir, not the cruel mask, but the boy from the stables, broken and beautiful. Maybe, I murmured, leaning in to press my forehead to his. Or maybe I'll stay. But this time, on my terms. No more shadows. No more secrets. He nodded, a sob escaping, and pulled me into a kiss soft, tentative, like the first rain after drought. It tasted of salt and second chances, the monitors beeping a fragile rhythm to our reconciliation. Recovery was a battlefield. Richard pulled through, but the empire fractured, lawsuits from jilted partners, boardroom coups that left Connor clinging to scraps. He stepped down as heir, selling off chunks of the portfolio to fund a quiet life. A brownstone in Brooklyn, away from the glare. I moved in, no fanfare, just boxes of my thrift store clothes mingling with his designer cast-offs. We fought, God. Did we fight over trust? Over the ghosts of his cruelty? But we talked, too. Therapy sessions in a walk-up office in Midtown, where Connor unpacked the rage he'd inherited like a curse, and I confronted the codependency that kept me chained. One evening, 6 months later, we walked the Brooklyn Bridge at sunset, the skyline ablaze of gold and fire. Connor stopped midway, wind tousling his hair, and dropped to one knee, not with a ring, but with a simple key on a chain. To the cottage, he said, voice steady. Ours now. No empires, no hiding. Just us. I pulled him up, kissing him fierce and deep, the city sprawling below like a canvas we'd reclaim. Just us, I echoed. It wasn't perfect, scars don't fade, and the world still whispered. But in the quiet of our life, building something real from the ruins, we rose. Together. And for the first time, Connor's eyes held no fear, only light. The gunshot that kicked off this whole mess wasn't metaphorical. It was literal, a .38 caliber slug from Richard Hanson's antique revolver, fired in a haze of Scotch-fueled fury 3 years after that hospital epiphany. We'd carved out our fragile peace in Brooklyn, but legacies don't die, they metastasize. Connor had funneled his severance into a small production company. Indie films about underdogs and outcasts, a quiet fuck you to his father's blockbuster machine. I ran the books, green from the ground up but learning fast. Our brownstone a haven of exposed brick and second-hand furniture, where Sundays meant lazy brunches and lazy fucks, his head on my chest as we binge-watched old noirs. Richard, though, was a specter refusing exorcism. Post-heart attack, he'd clawed back control, remarried a Botoxed socialite half his age, and doubled down on the empire, streaming services gobbling up queer stories only if they were sanitized for prime time. He tolerated our arrangement, as he called it in passive-aggressive holiday cards, but the disdain simmered. Blood will out, he'd mutter when Connor visited for board updates, his eyes sliding to me like I was a stain on the family crest. That fateful night in July, heat wave gripping the city like a fever dream, Richard summoned us to the estate in Greenwich. Family dinner. The invitation read, laced with formality that set my teeth on edge. Connor hesitated, fork midway to his mouth over huevos rancheros that morning. We don't have to go. Tell him to shove it. But I saw the pull, the invisible tether of son to father, guilt woven into DNA. One dinner, I conceded, kissing his temple. Then we're out. The estate loomed like a Gothic fever dream, ivy-choked stone and lawns mowed to surgical precision. Richard greeted us in the foyer, his new wife Lillian, all pearls and porcelain, clutching a martini like a lifeline. Evan, he said, handshake limp as week-old lettuce. Still keeping my boy in line? Connor stiffened beside me, but I smiled. Tight. Someone's gotta. Dinner dragged, lobster thermidor and small talk about stock tickers. Lillian chirping about charity galas while Richard dissected Connor's latest flop. A short film on Stonewall that tanked at Tribeca. Artistic suicide, he sneered. Swirling Cabernet. You could have had boardrooms, not backlots. Connor's fork clattered. I'm happy. That's the point. Happy. Richard's laugh was a bark. Happiness is for peasants. Legacy is what lasts. His gaze flicked to me, venomous. Speaking of, how's the help faring in your little love nest? The room iced over. Lillian gasped, fanning herself. Connor's chair scraped back. Enough. But Richard was just warming up, rising like a tidal wave, face florid. You think I don't know? The cottage deed's in your name, my money. Boy, and him, he jabbed a finger at me, parading around like he's family. It's disgusting. A phase I indulged too long. I stood, pulse thundering. With all due respect, Mr. Hanson. Respect. He yanked open a sideboard drawer, pulling the revolver gleaming, loaded, a relic from his hunting days. You stole my son. Corrupted him. The hammer clicked back, the barrel swinging wild. Time fractured. Connor lunged. Dad. No. But Richard fired, the blast deafening, splintering the mantel clock into shrapnel. I didn't think. I launched across the table, china shattering under my weight, tackling Connor down as glass rained. We hit the floor hard, his body shielding mine instinctively, even as he cursed. Lillian screamed, dialing 911 with trembling hands. Richard stood frozen, gun smoking, eyes wide with the shock of what he'd unleashed. Sirens wailed in the distance, red and blue fracturing the night through leaded windows. Cops swarmed, statements taken in hushed tones, accidental discharge. They ruled, after Richard spun a tale of cleaning the peace, but the damage etched deeper than lead. Connor's arm bled from a shard, my ribs bruised purple, and trust, that shattered irreparably. We fled to the city at dawn, the estate's gates clanging shut like a final judgment. Connor drove, knuckles white on the wheel of our beat-up Subaru, jaw clenched. I'm done. For real this time, I nodded, staring at the blurring taillights on I-95. We both are, but endings aren't clean cuts. They're ragged tears. The incident leaked, Hanson Patriarch's gun mishap, and the vultures descended. Investors pulled from Connor's company, whispers of instability poisoning deals. Richard, ever the survivor, lawyered up, offering a settlement, sign over the cottage, vanish from Connor's life, and pocket a cool $1 million. For your trouble, the attorney said over coffee at Lou Payne Quotidian, as if buying silence was brunch etiquette. I laughed in his face. Tell Richard to keep his blood money. Connor, when I relate it, paced our living room like a panther in a cage. Take it, Evan. Start fresh. Away from this shitshow. You think I'd leave you? I grabbed his arm, forcing him still. After everything? His eyes, those storm cloud grays, cracked open. I almost got you killed. My family's poison. I'm poison. You're not, I said fiercely, cupping his face. We're in this. Fight or flight. Together. He broke then, collapsing against me, sobs racking his frame. We held each other on the worn rug, the city murmuring outside, and in that vulnerability, desire reignited, slow burns turning to inferno. His hands roamed, urgent, mapping scars both old and new, our bodies entwining in a dance of reclamation. Mine, he growled against my skin, teeth grazing collarbone, and I arched into him, whispering affirmations until dawn painted the walls gold. Rebuilding meant scorched earth. Connor dissolved the company, pivoting to consulting ghostwriting scripts for queer creators, anonymous but impactful. I enrolled in night classes at NYU, chasing a degree in film production, our evenings a blur of textbooks and takeout Thai. Richard's shadow loomed, sporadic checks, a Christmas card with a check for the help. But we returned them unopened, forging our own path. Fall brought a fragile bloom. Connor's script, a semi-autobiographical tale of a son breaking free, optioned by a small studio. Premiere night at the Angelica, we walked the carpet hand in hand, no hiding, no shame, flashes popping like fireworks. He dedicated it to me on stage, voice steady. To the man who taught me courage isn't inherited, it's chosen. After, in our bed slick with sweat and celebration, he traced my ribs, the bruise long faded but memory etched. I was afraid that night, he admitted, breath mingling. Not of the gun. Of losing you. You won't, I promised, sealing it with a kiss. Winter tested us anew. Richard's health cratered. Another attack. This one fatal. Lillian scattering to the Riviera with the silver. The funeral was a circus. Moguls in black Armani. Eulogies dripping hypocrisy. Connor spoke. Brief and barbed. He built an empire on secrets. I choose truth. We left early. Driving to the cottage under a canopy of stars. The ocean a lullaby. There, on the porch swing creaking like old bones, he proposed not with fanfare, but a simple band of hammered silver, warmed from his pocket. Marry me, Evan. Not to fix anything. Just because. Tears pricked. Yes, spring wedding in the garden where it began. Roses blooming defiant. Friends from the village and Astoria toasting with craft IPAs. Vows exchanged under an arbor I once pruned. Connor's voice breaking. I protected my heart from the world, until you showed me how to let it beat. We danced to Dancing in the Dark. His chin on my shoulder, the world fading to just us. Years folded like pages, a life woven from threads of resilience. Connor directed his first feature, a quiet romance about two men finding home amid chaos. Oscar buzz humming. I produced, our names entwined in credits. No heirs, no empires, just a family of two, adopting a scruffy mutt named Legacy, who chewed shoes and chased waves. One anniversary, back on the bridge at sunset, Connor stopped, keychain in hand, the original, worn smooth. We rose, he said, eyes shining. I kissed him, wind whipping. And we keep rising. In the end, it wasn't triumph or tragedy, but grace, the humanistic ache of loving through the storm, emerging not unbroken, but whole. Looking back, the real climax wasn't the gunshot or the tabloid storm. It was the quiet rebellion in the boardroom, 2 years after Richard's dirt nap, when Connor finally stared down the hydra his father spawned. The Hanson empire, rebranded under a faceless CEO, was devouring indie houses like ours. Buyouts masked as partnerships, queer narratives neutered for mass appeal. Our film, Echoes of Us, that raw love letter to stolen glances and second chances, had put us on the map, but the map led straight to their jaws. It started with a call from the execs, Collab opportunity. They purred over speakerphone in our cramped Brooklyn office. Steam from my coffee curling like question marks. Connor leaned back in his thrift store desk chair, arms crossed, that old scowl creeping in. What's the catch? No catch, the suit lied smoothly. Just synergy. We distribute, you create. Legacy lives on. Legacy. The word soured my gut. Connor's eyes met mine across the cluttered table. Manuscripts. Dog-eared scripts. A half-eaten bagel from Zabbers. And I saw the war. The boy craving approval. The man he'd become scorning it. We prepped for the meeting like gladiators. Suits dry-cleaned, mine borrowed. His tailored. Pitch-polished to a sheen. The tower on 6th Avenue gleamed like fool's gold. Lobby a cathedral of glass and chrome. Elevator ride up. Connor's hand found mine. Squeezing. Whatever happens, we walk out us. The conference room was a shark tank. Leather chairs circling a mahogany slab. Water views mocking our indie grit. The VP. A weasel named Hargrove with a Rolex that screamed old money. Slid contracts across. Standard boilerplate. Sign. And your stars. I skimmed. Clauses like barbed wire. Creative vetoes. Content adjustments. For broader appeal. No queer leads kissing on screen. No provocative backstories. Connor's jaw ticked. We keep control. Full stop. Hargrove chuckled. Oily. Control? This is Hanson. We make hits. You make art. The room tensed. Assistants shifting. Connor leaned forward. Voice low thunder. Art that outsold your last rom-com. And it's real. Not your sanitized shit. Hargrove's smile cracked. Watch your tone, Hanson. Your father's grave is still warm. We could crush you. There it was, the hook. Sunk deep. Connor's face paled. Ghosts rising. The bruises. The ultimatums. The guns echo. I braced, ready to pull him back. But he held, fingers drumming the table like a metronome of resolve. My father built this on lies. I'm not him. And we're not for sale. Silence, thick as fog. Hargrove's eyes narrowed, calculating. Then you're done. Blacklisted. Connor stood, chair scraping defiance. Good. We'll build our own table. We strode out, elevator dinging like a victory bell, but the fallout hit hurricane force. Streams dried up, festivals ghosted us, whispers in Hollywood of troublemakers. Rent checks bounced. Our mutt legacy eyeing us with those soulful browns as takeout went from Thai to ramen. Nights, Connor paced. Self-doubt a venom. What if I doomed us? Again, I'd pull him to bed. Bodies aligning like puzzle pieces worn smooth. You freed us? I'd murmur. Lips on his neck. Hands exploring the map of him. Freckles like constellations. Scars like stories. Sex was our sacrament. Sometimes tender, candlelit confessions. Others fierce, reclaiming power in gasps and grips. We're unbreakable. I'd gasp as he moved inside me, his name a prayer on my tongue. But doubt gnaws. One storm-lashed October night, after a string of rejections, Connor cracked open a bottle of the Macallan, Richard's brand, a masochistic toast. To the peasant who should have run, he slurred, glass trembling. I snatched it away. To the heir who stayed, we argued, words flying like shrapnel, me accusing him of martyrdom, him lashing with old cruelties. You always were the fixer, Evan. Pathetic, the slap echoed, my hand connecting with his cheek, shocking us both. He touched the red bloom, eyes wide, not with anger, but hurt. Do it again. I deserve it. I sank to my knees instead, head in his lap, tears soaking his jeans. No. We're past this. He stroked my hair, voice breaking. I don't know how to be enough. For you. For anyone. You're everything, I whispered, looking up. Let me show you. We made love on the floor, slow and sacred, his body a canvas I painted with kisses, every insecurity, every fear. After, tangled in sheets, he confessed, therapy's helping, but the dreams. Dad's face, the gun. Waking up screaming your name, I held him tighter. We'll chase them away. Together, resilience is muscle, built in reps of refusal. We crowdfunded the next project, Shadows Rising, a docudrama on queer youth in red states, backers pouring in from allies we touched. Screenings in community centers, not multiplexes. Buzz organic, viral clips on TikTok of Connor's impassioned Q&As. Success tasted like street falafel after a premiere, shared on a stoop with our growing circle. Trans director friends, activist neighbors, a chosen family fiercer than blood. Christmas brought a gift wrapped in brown paper. A deed, clean and clear, to a plot in the Catskills. Our escape, Connor said. I soft. No Hansons, no empires. Just woods and us. We honeymooned there early. Cabin-side fire, snow blanketing pines, legacy bounding through drifts. Nights, we'd fuck under quilts, his moans mingling with wind. Then talk till stars wheeled. Dreams of kids, maybe surrogacy. A foundation for LGBTQ plus storytellers. Humanity over hustle, he murmured, tracing my wedding band. Spring bloomed literal and figurative. Shadows won at Outfest. Judges praising its unflinching heart. Offers trickled, not buyouts, but true collabs. Connor helmed a series for PBS. Queer Histories Unwhitewashed. I co-produced. Our synergy electric. But conflict simmers eternal. A profile in the Advocate dug too deep, hints of Connor's turbulent past, veiled nods to abuse. He spiraled, paranoia flaring. They're coming for us. Again, I grounded him with facts, with touch. Let them write. We're the story now. Summer solstice. We hosted a screening in our backyard, string lights, picnic blankets, 50 souls under the moon. Connor spoke, vulnerable. I was the cruel heir, hiding behind walls. Evan tore them down. This, he gestured to the crowd, to me beside him. This is freedom. Applause thundered, but his hand in mine trembled. Later, alone, he knelt, not proposal, but penance. Forgive me. All the times I hurt you. Already did, I said, pulling him up. Love you, Storm Boy. Our kiss tasted of wine and wonder, bodies following to the grass, stars witnesses to ecstasy, his arch under me, gasps of surrender. By fall, we'd stabilized, brownstone paid off, Catskills cabin a retreat. Legacy puppied a litter, we kept one, naming her Grace. Life's rhythm. Mornings co-writing, afternoons walks in Prospect Park, evenings tangled, his head on my chest, heartbeat a lullaby. One dawn, coffee brewing, Connor watched me, quiet. You saved me, Evan. From him. From me, I smiled, stirring sugar. We saved each other. In that humanistic arc, dramatic falls, Romantic rises we found not perfection, but peace. A gay love story, American as apple pie and protest marches. Flawed, fierce, forever. The betrayal that nearly undid us the second time wasn't Connor's. It was mine. Or so the mirror lied on those whiskey-soaked nights when self-recrimination played director. 4 years into our Brooklyn idyll, with Shadows Rising spawning a podcast empire and the Catskills cabin hosting writer retreats, success bred complacency. I'd started fielding solo offers, producing gigs in LA, tempting with glamour and greenbacks. Just a pilot, I'd tell Connor over FaceTime from pilot season schmoozes, palm trees mocking our urban grit. Networks paying. He'd nod, that trusting smile masking the strain. Knock 'em dead, babe. Bring me a script. But LA was a siren, whispering independence after years in his orbit. The betrayal crystallized at a rooftop mixer in Silver Lake, schmoozing a studio head named Trent, charming, ambitious, with a jawline like chiseled marble and eyes that lingered on my ringless hand, left at home. 4 meetings. 1 drink led to 2, his hand on my elbow steering me to a shadowed corner. You're wasted on indies, Evan. Come run development here. Full creative. And Offset, his grin, wolfish. Perks. Heat flushed. Not just ambition, but the thrill of being seen as mine, not ours. I leaned in, lips brushing his in a haze of tequila and temptation, the city lights blurring below. Regret hit like vertigo the next morning, hotel sheets tangled, Trent's number scrawled on hotel stationery. I deleted it, boarded the red eye, vowing silence. Buried it deep, like the gardener I once was, mulching secrets under fresh soil. Guilt manifested sly, distance in my touches, excuses for late nights editing rough cuts. Connor noticed. Of course, his radar for fractures honed by a lifetime of fissures. You okay? He'd ask over dinner. Fork paused mid-bite of my attempted lasagna, always gummy. Fine, I'd lie, forcing a grin. Jet lag. The crack widened at our 5th anniversary. Dinner at Peter Luger, steaks sizzling, then home to candles and silk. But midway through, my phone buzzed, Trent, undeterred. A voice memo, missed you last night. That kiss? Electric. Ditch the ring. Come west. I'd forgotten to silence it. Connor froze. Wineglass midway. Who's Trent? Panic clawed. Colleague. Nothing. He played it. Face draining of color. Then fury blooming. A kiss? In LA? While I'm here holding the fort. The glass shattered in his fist. Merlot staining the rug like blood. It was stupid, one moment. I stopped it. Came home. Home. He laughed. Shattered. You call this home when you're out hunting validation? After everything, me. Raw and ruined. Handing you my heart. And you. Voice cracking. He backed away. You're just like him. That. Taking what you want. Discarding the mess. The accusation landed like a gut punch. That's not fair. I protected you, swallowed your cruelties, your doubts. This was a slip, Connor. A mistake. Mistake. He whirled. Ice storms. You think betrayal's a footnote? I bared my soul. Evan therapy. The boardroom stand. The proposal on one knee in the rain. And you kiss some suit because Brooklyn's not shiny enough? We screamed until hoarse. Words weapons. His hurling my savior complex. Me his paranoid prince. He stormed out. Door slamming thunder. Leaving me amid shards. Glass. Trust. Dawn found me on the stoop. Legacy whining at my feet, dew-soaking jeans. Connor returned at noon, duffel slung, eyes red-rimmed. Staying at the cottage. Need space. Connor. Please. Space. Evan. The door clicked shut, softer than a slam, but final. Days blurred to weeks. Radio silence. My texts unread. Calls to voicemail purgatory. I threw myself into work, greenlighting a queer horror flick. Whispers in the closet. But scripts mocked me. Every love scene a knife twist. Friends staged interventions. Drinks at the Rusty Nail. Zoe, our trans DP. Blunt. Fix it or lose him. Pride's a luxury you can't afford. Thanksgiving loomed. Empty. I drove to the Catskills uninvited. Snow dusting the drive. Cabin lights a beacon. Connor answered shirtless. Flannel pants low. Wood smoke clinging. What are you doing here? Fighting. I stepped in. Boots tracking slush. I fucked up. Royally. But running, that's my old trick. Not yours. He crossed arms. Defensive. You don't get it. That kiss, it wasn't the act. It was the hiding. Like I hid from Dad. From us. Guilt choked. I was scared. Of losing myself in us. But I was wrong. You're my anchor, not my chain. He deflated, sinking to the hearthrug. I pushed you away first. With the doubts. The legacy bullshit. Made you feel like the sidekick. We talked, raw, unfiltered, fire crackling. Wine poured but untouched. Confessions spilled. My fear of codependency. His terror of abandonment. I love you, he said finally. Voice whisper. But love's not enough if it's built on sand. It's not, I vowed. Kneeling. Let me prove it. His kiss was tentative. Then torrent. Hands fisting hair. Bodies crashing like waves. We made love by firelight. Urgent and honest. Him atop. Eyes locked. Every thrust a reclamation. Yours, he gasped. And I echoed. Sealing fractures with sweat and sighs. Reconciliation meant excavation. Couples therapy in a sunlit loft DR. Reyes, noble shit Latina with a laugh like bells. Unpacking our patterns. My protector role masking insecurity. His cruelty a shield for vulnerability. Homework. Weekly truth dates. No filters. Christmas. We hosted potluck with our tribe. Legacy decked in antlers. Connor gifted a leather-bound journal. For your stories. The real ones. I gave him a custom script cover. Embossed. Our epic. Spring thawed more than earth. Whispers premiered at South by Southwest. Critics raving. Caldwell's vision cuts deep. Offers balanced, LA tempting. But I negotiated remote. Prioritizing us. Connor directed a stage play. Heir apparent. Confessional and cathartic. Selling out off-Broadway. Summer solstice retreat. Cabin. Just us. No cells. Hikes through ferns. Skinny dips in the creek. Nights under canopy, his body mine. Stars confetti. Remember the stables? He murmured post-climax. Sated. First kiss. I teased. Fingers in his curls. First safe place. His vulnerability. Gift-wrapped. Fall brought harvest. Podcast Emmy nod. Foundation launch funding 10 young queer filmmakers. Conflict arose, a donor with Hansen ties. Strings attached. Connor balked. No ghosts. We declined. Integrity intact. Winter wedding vow renewal. Intimate. Snow globed in the garden. Vows. I choose you. storms and all. Dance to Sinatra, slow sway, his breath warm, afraid once. Not anymore. Life's tapestry wove on. Adopting a second pup, surrogacy talks blooming. Successes stacked, Oscars whispered, but humanism anchored. Volunteering at shelters, mentoring kids like we were. One eve, bridge walk, he stopped. You rose first, Evan. Showed me how. I grinned. We both did. In that romantic, ragged arc, betrayals bridged, emotions excavated, we embodied the American dream. Not flawless, but fought for, loved fierce. The true humanistic coda unfolded not in glory, but in the quiet erosion of time. 10 years post that boardroom blaze, when the empire we'd built began to mirror the one we'd fled. Deadlines devouring dinners, accolades accruing like dust. Connor's directorial star ascended, fractured lines, his magnum opus on intergenerational trauma, nabbing Palme d'Or whispers at Cannes, while I helmed a slate of boundary-pushing docs, our foundation a beacon for marginalized voices. Brooklyn evolved. Brownstone expanded to include a home office/nursery, prepped for the baby via our surrogate, Mia, a fiery artist from the village. But success is a jealous lover. Conflicts simmered domestic. Connor buried in post-production, me jetting to festivals. Legacy 2, the pup, our only constant, tail-wagging diplomat. The betrayal echo lingered. My LA slip a scar we poked in quieter moments. Am I enough? He'd ask post-argument, voice small, after a snip over forgotten parent-teacher Zoom for our godkids. Always, I'd affirm, but words wore thin against exhaustion. The climax crested in spring, cherry blossoms papering the park like confetti from a stalled party. Mia's due date loomed, ultrasounds showing a boy, named Theo, after Connor's forgotten uncle, the black sheep who fled to Paris. But Richard's will surfaced, a posthumous venom, contested deeds to the cottage, Lillian's lawyers claiming undue influence, dredging old scandals. Tabloids revived. Hanson ghosts haunt happy couple? Connor unraveled. Sleepless, snapping at crew, drowning doubts in craft singles. It's him, he ranted one night, pacing our kitchen, Thai takeout congealing. Dad, clawing back from the grave. Proving I'm failure. I blocked his path, hands on shoulders. It's paper. We fight, but the fight fractured us. Court dates clashed with Mia's appointments. Stress spiked her blood pressure, bed rest ordered. Connor missed the anatomy scan, stuck in deposition, and guilt gnawed him raw. I can't even show up for our kid, he confessed in therapy. Dr. Reyes nodding sage. Our session bled into crisis. Driving home, rain sheeting, Connor swerved to avoid a cab, rear-ending a truck. Airbags deployed, whirled white noise. I blacked out, waking to sirens, Connor's hand crushed in mine, paramedics barking vitals. Minor whiplash, cuts. But the fear, visceral, paternal, crystallized everything. Hospital wait, Mia texting worry emoji. I turned to him in the ER bay, fluorescent harsh. This ends now. The empire, it's killing us. He nodded, tears carving tracks. I know. Afraid I'll lose you both. Homebound. We cocooned, Netflix marathons. Legacy 2 curled between. Vulnerability poured. Connor admitting burnout. The cruel air mask slipping back under pressure. I protected the legacy. You protected me. Now, we protect us, I said. Hand on his belly-flat, soon-to-swell world. Scale back. Foundation first. Films second. He agreed. Tender. That night, lovemaking, gentle, exploratory, reverent. His lips on my scars, mine on his. Ours, he breathed, and climax came soft, like grace. Resolution rippled. We settled the suit out-of-court cottage hours, minus strings, then pivoted. Connor shuttered the production arm, focusing on mentorship. I delegated, prioritizing home. Theo arrived midsummer, a squall of cries and tiny fists, dark curls like his dad's. First night, Connor cradled him, eyes awed. Hey, little storm. We're your safe harbor. Parenthood humanized. Diapers at dawn. Park picnics. Theo's giggles over blocks. Conflicts arose. Sleepless snipes. Divided chores, but we therapied through. Date nights reclaimed. Jazz in the village. Hands linked. Betrayal's ghost, exorcised in honesty. One anniversary. Post-bedtime. Connor pulled a letter from his pocket, Trent's old memo. Crumpled relic. Burned it years ago. But this, he tore it, ashes in sink. Gone. I kissed him fierce. Clean slate. Years accelerated. Theo toddling to school. Foundation galas raising millions. Connor guest lectured at Tisch. I keynote at Sundance, together, always. Legacy I passed peacefully at 14. Buried in Catskills soil. 2 became Theo's shadow. Climax revisited in Theo's teen rebellion. First crush. A boy named Alex. Outing nerves echoing ours. Connor. Wise now. Guided. Love scary. But worth the storm. Theo beamed. Like you and Dad? Exactly. Our ending? No tidy bow. Life's dramatic. Emotional weave. 50. Gray threading temples. We renewed vows on the bridge. Theo officiating. Wind whipped. To rising, Connor toasted. Ice crinkling. To us, I echoed. In that romantic, humanistic American tapestry, betrayals mended, affections deepened, we proved. Love isn't protection from the world, but armor forged within it. Cruel heirs become kind fathers, protectors, partners equal. And in the fear's wake, only light.